Hello boys and girls, my name is White Rhino PSO, and today I am playing Duskers. Now, this game is a roguelite survival horror done in a really neat style. As the story goes, you wake up from cryosleep, or some kind of a stasis, to find out that every other human in the known universe has vanished. And since your ship is basically falling apart and you don't have much fuel left, your job is to dock with the abandoned ships and stations that were left behind to not only search for supplies, but also to try and find any clues as to what happened. Where things start to get interesting is that you don't actually go into these derelicts yourself, but instead you send a small group of remotely operated drones that you can either take direct control of, but for the most part, you're controlling them with a sort of command line interface. In fact, the entirety of how you control this game is with the keyboard itself. Now, the horror aspect comes from the fact that these abandoned ships and stations can be very scary in an atmospheric sense because of how small the view is that the drone cameras give you, but also because almost every ship in the game has some kind of an infestation, which is a sort of threat that you have to deal with or otherwise avoid as best you can. Now, before we begin, I'm going to mention that I did adjust some of the settings slightly. First of all, there's several different graphical settings for video noise that the developers added as a sort of way to make it more believable that you're a guy looking at a really old monitor. I turned that stuff down in order to try and make my videos a little bit more clear for people watching them. Secondly, I also turned on colorblind mode, though I'm not entirely sure how it changes any of the game's display. But considering that I am colorblind myself, I figure it can only help. So, now let us begin the game. As you can see, this is some of the graphical stuff that they added to make it, I don't know, more believable. It's not going to be around for long, though. Accessing log. Loading BIOS salvage vessel. Cargo class version 5.1. Passive control systems, navigation, and engineering all pass, but system diagnostics has failed. There is a critical warning that I only have 6 days of fuel left with a crew size of 1. Initiate emergency distress sequence? Sure. Sending distress signal. 4 vessels detected, no responses received. Recommended course of action, which I guess Jill is the name of the computer that you're dealing with. Initiate manual contact with the vessels and acquire necessary resources for travel. Transfer classified as success. Externally modified log detected. Sure, I'll read it. Summary of primary objectives. Gather intel and logs from derelict spacecraft, gather resources necessary for survival, and search for survivors. If objectives cannot be completed, recommended action would be to initiate a reset. That's one of those things where if you get to a point where it's sort of, I guess, too difficult, you can kind of give the game a soft reset, which I believe means you save some of your progress with drones and ship upgrades, but then you're reset so that you can explore new ships without having to worry about some of the more dangerous infestations. Alright, so when you first start the game, and also between missions, you're given this sort of ship command screen, which has... Oh, you can also turn off the mouse because you don't really use it throughout the game, but I'm keeping it on just so I can gesture at different things on screen as needed. So you have 3 different views. There's the star map itself. Universe view has no data right now, though apparently we're in the Dexter universe that has 5 known systems, one of which is visited. The galaxy view, which is of Dexter, shows all these different systems or galaxies rather, that I could jump to, but I think that uses jump fuel. I'm not sure. It's actually been a fair while since I played this game. And then system view shows that my ship is just called derelict number 0. And these are the 4 different ships in this area that that I can visit. The one I'm at right now is the Calamity Jane, which is a Government C class. No infestations, which I think the only ship that ever has 0 infestations is this first one the game gives you. It's 22 space cycles old, so it is stable, which means it's not going to start coming apart while I'm on it. I have not visited it. I think you can only visit ships once, and then it has a scrap capacity of 48. This is interesting because, as far as I know, any ship that you find, as long as you can remove all infestations from it in some form, and you can explore all the different rooms, you are able to commandeer it so that you can start using that ship going from place to place. It also shows right now that I've got 2 scrap with a total of 50, 6 propulsion fuel. Alright, I think I remember now. Propulsion fuel is how you get from place to place, which, as you can see, I am at the Calamity Jane. If I went down to the Durga, then I would use 2 propulsion fuel to get there, or 3 to get to the Ambassador, or 2 to get to Monitor from where I am right now. The propulsion fuel recharges itself every time you jump to another galaxy, which you can inspect them without going to them, apparently. Right, back to system. You also have your drone config screen, which shows the different drones that you currently own. You can take up to 4 on a mission, but usually I like to leave 1 empty slot, because then if I find a damaged drone, then I can take it back with me. I think you need that slot in order to do that, but I'm not entirely sure. And you can have 3 drones in reserve, and the game randomly gives you different drone systems, I guess, as well as different names. So I've got Brendan, which is the highest hit points of the team. He has a motion scanner, which is very, very useful in this game, and there are some people who even find the game almost unplayable without a motion scanner. He has the gather system, so he can pick up scrap in different rooms. Orson has a generator, which lets me power different sections of the ship. And Ethan has the ability to tow different drones around and to interface with any ship consoles that might be there. You can also, if you hit enter, you can change the loadout. So if I wanted, I could remove tow to the ship inventory and then put it on somebody else. There's a ship config, which is pretty much the same thing, but for your ship instead. You have an inventory of different ship systems, once you find some, that you can then install on your ship. Certain ships have a system that cannot be removed, like it's part of the ship itself, and certain ships have different amounts of ship systems you can put in. And modification screen is pretty much... This is where you can repair your drones. Like, see, I have 2 scrap currently, and it would cost me 1 scrap to repair any drone by 10 hit points. Apparently I can spend scrap to increase the speed or hit points of a drone. Oh, and sometimes the drones themselves, like, everything in this game deteriorates as you play. And the drone video signal, sometimes it will just cut out completely for a short amount of time. So you can spend scrap in order to fix that. Or you can even convert entire drones down into scrap. You can also build new upgrades. Like, wait a minute, repairs to... Oh, yeah, down here. See, I can create my own drone systems, but I'm only... You start off only able to create gather, generator, and tow. You can upgrade, because like I said, you can repair the drone upgrades, since those deteriorate over time, and you only have 50 motion sensors total, so as you use those, you're going to need to start replenishing them eventually. And then the ship itself, you can repair upgrade slots or ship schematic view. I'll explain that in a minute, but for right now, since I've been talking about a whole lot of stuff, actually, objectives. Oh, this is just kind of the running tally, I guess, of what you found out so far as clues as to what happened. But anyway, I've been talking for almost 11 minutes now, so let's get on this ship with hitting B to board. So this is basically the same as the drone config screen. It just gives you one last chance to switch out any loadouts before you go, and everything looks fine to me, so time to enter that ship. Anytime you enter a ship, you have a chance to find a log like this. Initial vessel report, scanning is inconclusive, 0 infestation types. That's all information that we already pretty much knew from the map screen. The crew originally was 4, and their directive was espionage. There were 55,844 communications found in the archive, but most of them were corrupted. This one is only partially, though. Subject, cheap credit spam. Know that you could be saving a whopping 30% on credit fees with the new Star Traveler by LR Transmissions. Our unlimited direct communication offer is of up to 500 minutes of video calls. Minutes of video calls and 500 communications per month, so you can tell all your friends and family something away from home. Plus Y for more info. Usually the logs are more informative than this. This is actually the first time I've seen a spam one. Okay, so thankfully this ship has 0 infestation, so now I can try to explain this stuff all without worrying. At the bottom right is the command console itself, where you're typing in commands. And on the left side is what they call schematic view. So this is sort of like an overhead map view of the ship that you're going into. You can also hit, see how the drones are labeled 1, 2, and 3? You can hit 1 to switch directly to this drone, and then use the arrow keys to move him around. So right now he is on the landing ship itself. Alright, so some of the commands, like, you see A1, the doors that have an A are the airlocks, which if they're connected to a thing, then they just immediately open when you try to open them. Otherwise, it will make you, I think you can have a setting so it will make you confirm opening that airlock if you're just venting directly to space. The way you open doors is you hit the number or the name of the door. Alright, and then switch to drone number 1. And take it into the first room of the Calamity Jane. Alright, so I found a bit of scrap. So, something nice about this is it is the predictive text, I guess you could call it. So just putting in GAT and hitting enter will tell it to do the gather command. It is also smart in the sense that only Brendan has the gather upgrade, so when you type in gather, it will only have drones that have that upgrade try to do it. As far as I have heard, ships always start where the first room has one door that's already open, but both rooms that the door leads to are always going to be safe. Alright, so here we have another drone. His name is Wally. And we can type info to get some information about him. He is destroyed, so I cannot tow him back to my ship in order to repair and use later. But I can actually, let me pop out of that. And you can, like I said, there's the direct control, where you hit a number and then you control the drone yourself. But then in schematic view, or in any view really, you can also control things with the command line. So we do navigate. Drone number 3 has the tow and interface, so number 3, and tell him to go to R3, which is room 3. And now automatically he's going to go over there. Meanwhile, drone 2 has my generator, so I'm going to send him into room 2 because... each drone also has their own camera colors and their own little sounds when you've taken control of them or issued them a command that they can follow. So this device here, the little lightning bolt on it, is the generator, or the generator power inlet, that's what they call it. So if you do generator, then now drone number 2 and his generator upgrade are powering another small chunk of the ship. So drone 3, I want to tell Ethan to go over here and swap upgrades with Wally. He has a probe upgrade, which probe is an interesting way. It's kind of an alternative to motion. That's something I forgot to mention, is like the name of the game is supposed to be adapting to what you have in order to continue progressing. So if you don't have a motion sensor, you have to do something else. Probe, when you use that, in fact, I can do help probe. You can do help on any upgrade or command in the game, and it gives you a small amount of help. So hitting probe will drop a probe that scans accessible pickups. That scans accessible... Can I scroll that? Yes, accessible rooms. So what you do is you type probe, and it drops a little smiley face, and then that thing will fly around from room to room through any open doors and will scan the different rooms to tell you what's going on. So you can safely drop a probe and then bring everybody back to somewhere safe and let the probe go around and piss off any infestations that the ship might have. So the probe is definitely a helpful thing. Now, the game did mention that there are no infestation types on this ship, but I am going to burn one of my uses of the motion sensor just to show off what it's like. Motion sensor only works when the drone is not moving. So if I told Brendan to start moving, or if I moved him myself, the motion sensor would turn off. As you can see, it only does a motion sensor scan of rooms that are adjacent or to the room that it's in. So it's showing me room 2, room 3, and room 5, but room 4 it doesn't say anything about. Blue lines mean that the room is currently safe. There's nothing in there that would be considered hostile so far as infestation types go. Now, there are ship turrets that will sometimes be active and attack anything, including you. So I don't think motion sensor will trip off because of those. Yellow is inconclusive, which means there may or may not be something in that room. The motion sensor's not sure. And red means that it is currently, there's a threat in that room. So you can actually do this. This game is all in real time. So you can actually turn on the motion sensor and then watch it to see where the infestations are moving from room to room. But I have to, you can turn without turning off the motion sensor, but as you can see, it turns itself off. So this ship is supposed to be safe, so I can go straight into this room and see that there is some scrap on the floor, and also this thing, which is a fuel, what's it called? A fuel access point. And that's where you collect more propulsion fuel and more jump fuel. So there are 2 scrap in the room, and normally if you hit just gather, I believe it'll only gather 1 piece, but you can do gather all, and it will go to the different pieces of scrap and the fuel points. As you can see, it shows that this fuel access point was completely empty, but I did end up getting 2 more pieces of scrap. Oh, something else. You see how D5 was flashing right there? That's because my drone got close enough to verify that that is a door that is closed. The game, as you can see, our room 4 has dashes. That means that I haven't actually been in there to see, like, to verify that everything's okay. And there's some more scrap in here, so I'll tell it to gather. Open up door 3, and there's actually, you can make your own like little macros to have several commands go off at once, such as, well, actually, first of all, you can string different commands together with a semicolon. So I can do D5 to cycle that, and D2, and it will cause both of them to go on. You can also navigate multiple drones at one time. So 1, 2, and 3. Return to room 1. And as you can see, all 3 of my drones are going to head back. And as drone 2 Orson left the generator point, sometimes the drones are a little derpy, but as drone 2 left the generator access, that means the ship got depowered. And with that, this ship has been fully explored, so it's time to disembark. So it shows a quick running tally of what you got from this expedition. So I collected 4 scrap, which brings me to a total of 6. I didn't use any propulsion fuel to get here, so I still have the 6 that I started out. And I got no new drones, but I did get the new drone upgrade, the probe, which I think I am going to keep on one of my drones. For now, though, it looks like I'm a little over my time limit because I had a lot to explain and I wanted to get through most of that before I finish this video. But this is definitely a game I've been wanting to play for a while, so I am going to be playing this for a fair bit of the early April. But anyway, as always, thank you for watching, and I will see you next time.